You're standing at an airport kiosk, a plain turkey sandwich wrapped in plastic sitting under a heat lamp that isn't even turned on, $12.99. You think, of course it's expensive. Everything here had to be flown in on a truck, through security, past 1,000 checkpoints, just to reach this fridge. That's the cost of logistics. That's the cost of convenience. You're not being ripped off. You're paying for the complexity of getting food into a sealed, secure building. You pay, you eat it standing up, next to a gate that hasn't been called yet. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you file the whole experience under just how airports are. Except that sandwich has almost nothing to do with logistics. It has everything to do with a bidding war you never knew existed. One that happened years before you ever walked through security. Here's the sentence that changes how you see every airport terminal you'll ever walk through again. Your $12 sandwich isn't a food product. It's a rent payment dressed up in plastic wrap. Airport food isn't one thing. It breaks into 4 distinct categories, and each one is priced by a completely different logic. The grab-and-go kiosk, the overpriced turkey sandwich, the $6 bottle of water sells convenience to people with almost no time and almost no leverage to walk away. The branded fast food outpost, your familiar burger chain or coffee shop, transplanted into the terminal sells trust and predictability, but add a markup baked in before you even see the menu. The sit-down local flavor restaurant, the one advertising a partnership with a famous chef, sells the illusion of a real dining experience, positioned deliberately near your gate so leaving feels riskier than staying. And the lounge, separate entirely from retail pricing, sells access itself, a flat fee that removes you from the food economy altogether. 4 categories. 4 completely different reasons you're paying what you're paying. So what does that $12 sandwich actually break down into? Roughly $2.40 in raw ingredients and packaging. About $1 in labor to assemble and staff the counter. A little over $1 in standard food service, overhead refrigeration, waste, spoilage. That's under $5 in what most of us would call the actual sandwich. The remaining $7+ is going somewhere else entirely, and it's not going into the pockets of the person who made it. You're not buying lunch. You're buying a seat at one of the most competitive retail auctions in the country. You just don't know you're bidding, and the auction happened long before you arrived.
Let's talk about what it actually costs a restaurant to get a location inside a terminal in the first place. Airport concession contracts routinely run anywhere from 10 to 20% of gross revenue paid directly to the airport authority as rent, not a flat lease, a percentage cut of every single transaction. Compare that to a typical street-side restaurant, where rent might run somewhere between 6 and 10% of revenue. On top of that percentage, most airports require a minimum annual guarantee, a fixed dollar amount the vendor must pay regardless of how many sandwiches they actually sell. Numbers in the range of $200,000 to over $1 million a year for a single mid-sized location aren't unusual at major hub airports. Then there's the build-out cost itself, kitchen equipment, security clearances for every employee, specialized delivery logistics just to get supplies past checkpoints, easily another $300,000 to $700,000 before the first sandwich is ever sold. That's the entry fee, before a single customer walks up.
Follow your $12 upstream, and here's where it actually goes. About $2 covers the food itself, what we already broke down. Roughly $1 covers labor. Somewhere around $1.50 covers the logistics premium, the real cost of getting supplies through. Secured delivery corridors, which is modest, but it exists. The remaining $7.50? That's split between the airport authority's percentage of revenue rent, the minimum guarantee obligation getting paid down month by month, and the vendor's own margin, which after all of that is often thinner than a regular street location, not thicker. Here's the part that surprises people. The vendor isn't getting rich off you. The airport is. Airports operate on a business model where retail concessions, food, shops, packing often generate more net revenue than the airline gate fees themselves. Some airport authorities report that non-aeronautical revenue, largely retail and parking, accounts for well over half of total airport income. The plane tickets get the headlines. The sandwiches quietly pay the bills. Here's the counterintuitive profit center nobody talks about. It isn't the sandwich. It's the real estate auction that happened before you ever bought one. Airports run competitive bidding processes for every retail slot in the terminal. Restaurant chains and local operators submit proposals, and the airport authority selects based on who offers the highest guaranteed rent and revenue share. This is functionally identical to a shopping mall auctioning off storefronts to the highest bidder, except the customer base is a captive audience that legally cannot leave the building once through security. Call it the captive audience premium, the specific markup that exists only because you have nowhere else to go. It's the same reason movie theater popcorn costs more than popcorn anywhere else. The same reason stadium hot dogs cost more than the hot dog cart outside. But airports run it at a scale and duration nothing else matches, because unlike a 2-hour movie, you might be stuck for 4 hours, hungry, with a flight to catch and zero ability to just walk down the street. The restaurant isn't pricing based on ingredients. It's pricing based on the fact that it's actual competition. Every restaurant outside the terminal has been physically removed from the equation by a security checkpoint. Here's what keeps airport concession operators up at night. The minimum guarantee doesn't care whether a pandemic happens, whether a hub airline cuts routes, or whether foot traffic craters for reasons that have nothing to do with the restaurant itself. Airport vendors are exposed to volume risk they cannot control. No walk-in traffic strategy, no local marketing, no loyalty program can fix an airport running fewer flights. Many operators who overbid to win a prime location have gone under within a few years. Not because the sandwiches were bad, but because the guaranteed rent didn't flex when travel demand did. The single variable that changes everything here is which side of security you're standing on. Pre-security retail in an airport behaves almost like normal street pricing. Real competition exists because anyone, ticketed or not, can walk in. The moment you cross through the checkpoint, that competitive pressure disappears entirely, and pricing shifts to reflect a customer base with no exit option. That's why the same coffee brand can charge noticeably more for an identical cup 20 feet past security than it does in the terminal lobby before the checkpoint. Same coffee, same company, same day, different side of a metal detector, different economic reality entirely. Take a single grab-and-go location at a major hub airport. It pays an annual minimum guarantee of $400,000, plus 15% of gross revenue above that threshold. To simply break even on rent, the location needs to generate over $400,000 a year in guaranteed obligations alone, before staff, before ingredients, before a single dollar of actual profit. If that location sells an average of 800 sandwiches a day at $12 each, that's roughly $3.5 million a year in gross revenue, and even at that volume. Once rent, staff, ingredients, and build-out amortization are subtracted, the margin left over is often in the low single digits, not the windfall you'd assume from those prices. So the next time you're standing at that kiosk, staring at a $12 sandwich under a heat lamp that isn't even on, remember what you're actually looking at. It's not the cost of flying turkey into a secured building. Airport food isn't expensive because of logistics. It's expensive because airports auction off retail space to the highest bidder, and that rent gets baked directly into the price of your sandwich.